There are many models for success which can often seem conflicting. I've spent over 20 years working in the therapy industry, where there are over 400 different approaches to psychological therapy, with proponents from each therapy stating that their approach is the best approach. Each approach addresses a different element of a problem and solution. Whether it's a psychoanalytic approach to therapy, which tries to find distant root causes to problems which developed back in childhood, or Gestalt approaches, which look at the big picture, or interpersonal approaches, looking at relationships, or cognitive approaches, looking at thinking styles, behavioural approaches, looking at behaviour, solution-focused approaches, looking at what the client wants in the future, and the steps taken to achieve this, or residential therapies and other therapies looking at changing a client's environments. There are also spiritual therapies and dozens of other different therapeutic directions. Although some therapy approaches generally have better outcomes than others, research shows that two things have the greatest impact on therapeutic outcomes, regardless of the therapeutic approach. One is the relationship between the therapist and the client. The other is whether the therapist believes in their approach. This is really interesting and leads right into 4Games. It shows that it doesn't matter where you start addressing a problem, whether you start by looking at the environment or start by looking at a client's thinking or start by looking at how they would like the future to be or the story of how their problem developed. All approaches can lead to resolving the problem. This means that no therapeutic approach is strictly right or wrong, just a different direction to work in, and some clients will favour some approaches over others. The challenge is for therapists to be flexible and adaptable enough to change to meet their clients' needs if the approach that they're using isn't how they would like to be treated. The same applies in coaching. There are many ways to coach people. You can look at how someone thinks or feels about a situation. You can be strategic and set tasks and goals. You can look at what stops them making required changes, or you can have them focus on the future and what it is that they want and what they need to do to achieve this. The beauty of 4Games is that it gives a shared language which can be used to work with clients, whether they're entrepreneurs seeking to grow businesses or individuals aiming to lose weight or get fit and healthy, or to achieve personal goals, or to be therapeutically addressing problems. This shared language contains all approaches to change work in a simple map, and it doesn't matter where you start on that map to create change. So 4Games isn't about saying that any specific approach to coaching or therapy is right or wrong. It's saying that they all fit onto this one map. This allows all coaches and therapists who already have an approach that they like and they find works well for them to use their approach whilst at the same time work within the client's frame of reference. So if the client isn't perhaps shifting as they would like, then the coach can clearly see which areas haven't been addressed and look at addressing these areas. For those who perhaps don't have coaching experience, then they can learn how to help people make changes by using this as a framework and using this as some language to be able to make changes for yourself or others. So 4Games is like a Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone was a stone tablet found in 1799 which contained essentially the same text in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, Demotic script and ancient Greek. Scholars understood the ancient Greek and some of the Demotic script, which led them to realise that the writing was the same in these different languages. So they were able to translate the rest of the Demotic script and decipher the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Up until that point, no one understood ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, so the Rosetta Stone opened up a whole new world of discovery. With 4Games, those working from different coaching or therapy modalities can see and understand other approaches through this model and use elements of those other approaches from within this coaching model without having to have extensive training in all different approaches. Those who are currently coaches or therapists can see how their approach fits into the model and can use this model to learn other complementary approaches.